The new Sonic and Fast Friends marketing campaign or whatever is in full effect, and recently we've been getting some interesting news drops with like comics and commercials and stuff like that to promote the Sonic IP. But recently, character bios have been dropped on the new website, which is sending the Sonic community into a frenzy. As you know, SEGA has hired a dedicated lore manager for the Sonic franchise because the canon has been pretty messy. But Sonic Twitter has been in an absolute firestorm, so I figured we'd talk about this today. Been meaning to get to this for the last couple days, but I've been busy. But we're gonna read every single character's bio. I'll give you guys my thoughts and let me know your thoughts on some of this information and if you think it's controversial, because everyone is at war because of these new lore drops. So let's check it out. So our first character is obviously Sonic the Hedgehog, and this falls very much in line with the IDW characterization for Sonic. Like when I look at Sonic IDW, I feel like IDW Sonic is just being very self-referential and being like, hey guys, this is my character, I'm Sonic. I feel like every time he literally talks in character bio, like straight up. Like when you read this characterization of Sonic on this website, you're gonna be like, wait, it's such a weird thing to say. Like I don't know if you guys like agree with me. If you read IDW comics, you might kind of get it, but literally Sonic talks in character bio. Let me read the characterization and you maybe understand what I said. So here's Sonic the Hedgehog's bio, our favorite blue boy. It says that Sonic is the living embodiment of being free as the wind. He's the fastest thing alive. He spends most of his days exploring the world, experiencing its thrills and finding new challenges. When he isn't sprinting around at top speed, you'll likely find him savoring a chili dog while relaxing in nature. Sonic is an inspiration to everyone he meets. He gives his friends the courage to be their best selves, and even his fiercest rivals and enemies can't help but respect his unstoppable will. While Sonic doesn't play by anyone's rules, he'll always come to the aid of those in need to ensure they can live as free, as happy as he does. I'm thinking about IDW Sonic when he fights Surge for the first time and he's standing on top of the thing and he's like, I want everyone to live as free as me, even if they're trying to kill and be genocidal and take over the world. I just want him to be free, as happy as me. Like he literally talks in the way this bio says. Like this character bio are things that he literally says about himself throughout the story, but I feel like that's more so IDW trying to tie the whole story of Sonic together. But yeah, so that's Sonic's bio. It's pretty self-explanatory, but this is where it starts to get controversial. Amy Rose. Here's Amy Rose's character bio. Amy is a spirited and athletic adventurer out to share her boundless love with the world. She wields her signature Pico Pico hammer with incredible strength and grace to defend those in need. Amy is first met by Sonic following the guidance of her fortune cards. Unfortunately, the cards didn't tell her about Metal Sonic, or did they? Ever since, she's pushed herself to grow as an adventurer in order to bring love and peace to the world. Sonic Frontiers obviously is where that screams to me. She may not be chasing after Sonic anymore, but he's still #1 in her heart. There's been a lot of debate on Twitter as to whether or not Amy should be kind of like the Sonic Mickey Mouse girl. You know what I mean? Like Mickey and Minnie Mouse type situation. Obviously, I'm not into the shipping stuff or the discourse. I think it's extremely toxic. But, you know, a part of her character, if you are a Sonic fan, is that like she was a Sonic fangirl. Like she always was. And I thought that was kind of an interesting part of her character. But a lot of people are debating as to whether or not this is a good thing. Some people say that because Amy isn't as like chasing Sonic and they've toned that down a little bit, they say that her character has been stripped and she's more of like just a generic like protagonist and not really any like depth to her character or anything that's interesting or unique about her. So that's one thing that's been pretty controversial. Do you agree with this bio for Amy Rose? Let me know down below in the comments. I don't really have an opinion one way or the other, but that's something that's been controversial, so I just wanted to highlight that and bring it up. Next up, we have Miles Tails Prower. Here is his bio. I don't think it's going to be too controversial. Let's take a look. Tails is just a young fox coming into his own and discovering his full potential. He's a genius mechanic and inventor, as well as a swift and experienced adventurer. He's also an ace pilot with a garage full of Tornado series airplanes. Once a timid boy, Tails was ashamed of how his twin tails made him different, but then Sonic helped him realize that this difference also gives him amazing abilities, as he uses his tails to fly, propelling him across the land and even underwater. Now Sonic's best friend and partner in adventure, he's grown a lot since those early days. Taking inspiration from Sonic, Tails now aspires to be a hero in his own right. Again, I feel like every single piece of Sonic media from IDW to Sonic Frontiers is basically just taking these character bios and trying to apply them into the game and making it very obvious that they're trying to do that. Sonic and IDW is probably the most obvious of this situation in my opinion, but this is pretty spot on for Tails. Obviously, it's a little bit contradictory of like games like Sonic Forces where he completely regresses, but they're trying to fix that and correct the course. I don't see anything controversial with Tails' bio. Let's move on to Knuckles. Here's Knuckles the Echidna. Sonic. Knuckles is the guardian of the Master Emerald and a powerful gemstone tied to the history of the world. He also safeguards his home, Angel Island, a flying island paradise. He traverses to the Earth's varied, wild environments with incredible speed and impressive gliding techniques, while his stunning strength allows him to climb over or bust through any obstacle. Knuckles is a serious and straightforward warrior, which often leads to friction with Sonic's witty, casual way of life. The two of them are staunch rivals, but with a deep and mutual respect for each other. Over time, in countless adventures, Knuckles has come to open up a little bit and trust his friends he's met through Sonic, and while he isn't the warm and fuzzy type, he'll defend his friends with ferocious determination. So yeah, this again is kind of shoring up the lore for Knuckles and making sure that he's more of a serious character as opposed to what he's been in the meta era, which is just goofy side, like comic relief character. Clearly, Guardian of the Master Emerald is central to his identity, which is something that's been kind of missing from the games for a long time, but clearly in Sonic Superstars that's looking to change. As you see, he's actually guarding the Master Emerald, which is nice, and obviously Frontiers, they talk about it in the Frontiers prologue. So Knuckles being serious and kind of like a Sonic rival is something that's back and central to the plot of his character, but this is pretty much, you know, standard stuff for Knuckles. There's nothing really too controversial about this. Let's move on to the next one. Dr. Eggman. Dr. Ivo Eggman Robotnik is an unparalleled mechanic and genius. His dream is to conquer the world and reshape it in his image. To that end, he builds sprawling armies of robots and vast fleets of warships. This means he needs a lot of energy to fuel his conquest, so he's often hunting down the power of the Chaos Emeralds or other sources of arcane power. Sonic used to tease him with the nickname Eggman, so the Doctor took it for himself and made it his own. That's something that in Sonic Frontiers, like if you look at the fishing logs, they're really trying to hammer down on that. Again, it's kind of cool to see that. I guess the lore managers obviously had their hands in this. Across all media, they really are trying to do this like consistent thing. IDW, like games, and now like just various media like this. They literally say the same thing in every single one to establish that continuity. Hopefully going forward, this is something that can be fixed, but we'll see what happens. What was once a mockery is now his signature brand, and many fear the might of the Eggman Empire. While Sonic is his bitter enemy, Dr. Eggman can't help but respect the incredible skill and spirit. Likewise, Sonic genuinely respects the Doctor's tenacity, although he wishes he'd use his genius for good. Again, this is IDW-esque right here. I mean, I feel like this is Ian Flynn has his hands written all over this. IDW seems to have a strong identity for what they want to do for this series going forward. You think of the Mr. Tinker arc where Eggman actually turns good because he doesn't know who he is. Sonic just lets him go. He lets him live. He's cool with it. He wants him to live free. Obviously, that's part of his character. Or you think at the end of the Metal Madness saga where Sonic's like, Eggman, like, hopefully one day you'll come around, and then the next day he just like tries to kill everyone. So it's interesting to see that dynamic between them and how Sonic wants to redeem everyone. But yeah, it's pretty much on point for the brand. Let's move on to Blaze the Cat. Interestingly enough, there's a couple characters missing here. Blaze the Cat. Blaze hails from a parallel dimension. There, she is the Imperial Princess of the Soul Empire. There, she is the Imperial Princess of the Soul Empire and Guardian of the Seven Soul Emeralds. She defends and protects it with all stoic dutifulness and overwhelming fiery powers. She is swift, decisive, and shows little mercy for those who intend to bring harm to her people. Blaze's fearsome powers and station left her with a very few friends, and until a fateful encounter with Sonic changed her life. Thanks to Sonic and his network of friends, Blaze found a community that accepted and cherished her. Now, with the power of the Soul Emerald, she can freely visit Sonic's dimension and be with her new companions. Nothing too interesting about that. I'm surprised they didn't bring up like the fact that, I don't know if this is headcanon or if this is confirmed, but Blaze is supposed to be Sonic from an alternate dimension. I'm surprised they didn't bring that up, or like the parallels to their characters, but pretty interesting. Let's move on to the next character. Cream and Cheese. Cream the Rabbit is a young girl with a huge heart who's eager to help those in need, even though she needs to help herself from time to time. Always by her side is Cheese the Chow, her stalwart companion, ready to defend her at a moment's notice. Cream was raised to be very polite and proper by her mother, Vanilla. This makes her stand out amongst the casual and energetic crowd Sonic normally hangs out with. She loves helping her mother raise and care for the Chow and living in their prosperous Chow Guard. Is she like the keeper of the Chow Guard? And that's pretty interesting. But with opportunity arises, Cream gleefully joins the others and provides support by flying with her massive ears. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much spot on for her. I guess, you know, in the IDW comic, she really does show that spirit and tenacity and kind of like that huge heart that they talk about in this. So nothing really too revealing about this or anything really controversial about the lore. Let's move on to the next character, which is Shadow the Hedgehog. Shadow is known as the ultimate life form. He was created by Professor Gerald Robotnik as part of a complex conspiracy involving the military and some ravenous aliens. Shadow has incredible speed, ferocious strength, and a rare ability called Chaos Control. By utilizing the power of the Chaos Emerald, he can stop time and appear to warp in a new position instantaneously. Shadow is always on the prowl for dangers to the world. While he has no love for it or its people, they were cherished by his one friend, the late Maria Robotnik. So once again, oh, by the way, Dr. Eggman's cousin, so they're really hammering on that as well. They had to make sure we know that because that was also said in the Egg memos in Sonic Frontiers. They're once again across all forms of media saying that that Shadow has no friends. They actually say that in Sonic Prime as well. IDW, Sonic Prime, and I guess now this. He protects Earth in honor of her memory, willing to do anything and fight anyone to ensure no one threatens the world Maria cherished. While Shadow prefers to be alone, he allows himself to trust the occasional support of Rouge and Omega. This is once again very interesting because Ian Flynn has come out and said that Team Dark has no special bond or relationship. This has angered and been very controversial to many fans in the series. So it's interesting to say that Shadow will trust them, but he's not their friend. But I feel like in Sonic 06, you really see that they are friends, and Sonic Heroes, they are friends, and Team Dark is one of the coolest like anti-hero groups or whatever that has probably the most interesting dynamic, but they've really kind of neutered that, and I think Ian Flynn actually recently did walk it back that they don't have any form of bond or relationship. But this right here is kind of controversial. I think that Team Dark should have some level of friendship, even though in IDW you'll see Sonic, you'll see Shadow be very like cold and off-putting to Rouge. So I don't know. He said that they're the only ones he can count on for help, and they won't question his methods. Next one is Rouge the Bat. Rouge is truly a skilled and tenacious Jill of all trades. She's an expert spy, adept flyer, and accomplished jewel thief. A trained fighter. Even wields custom demolition. Some people just have it all. It says Rouge doesn't play favorites and will happily work for anyone so as long as it gets her what she wants. It says her cunning and wit make it hard to tell she's being coy and when she's really acting as a double agent. Her sincerest bond is with Shadow. That's actually really interesting. Whom she earnestly respects and supports. Rouge knows that she can count on Shadow when she needs him and that he won't question her motivation. That's very interesting. So while Shadow may or may not reciprocate that like vibe to Rouge, she really respects him, and I don't know. I think Team Dark needs to have that bond. Let's move on to Omega though. E123 Omega, he's the last in the E100 series, a powerful battle robot built by Dr. Eggman. Omega is a walking arsenal with a manner of lasers, missiles, and incendiary devices hidden in his bulky frame. If he is asunder with razor-sharp claws that have immense strength. Omega felt like he was being devalued by Dr. Eggman, so he rebelled. Now his single-minded objective is to destroy Eggman's creations and prove to his creator he is the strongest before finishing off the Doctor himself. While there isn't anyone who would call him a friend, he shares a grim rapport with Shadow and Rouge. He knows he can trust them to support his violent campaign without trying to hold him back. So he has no friends either. Team Dark just has no friends apparently. Here's the last and most interesting one. This one actually kind of hints towards a retcon of Sonic 06, or at least something I've been hearing on the timeline of Twitter. Here's Silver the Hedgehog. He's a young, aspiring hero from 200 years in the future. He commands a powerful psychokinesis, which allows him to manipulate objects with his mind, fly through the air, and even teleport short distances. While he means well, his naivety can sometimes lead him astray. You definitely see that in IDW. Silver's time period was once ravaged and ruined, Sonic 06, but together with Sonic, Blaze, and others, he helped restore its blue skies and peaceful days. So this again is very interesting because I'm pretty sure Blaze dies in Sonic 06. Also, Sonic 06 was not meant to be canon. I'm not really 100% sure about that. So it's weird. So this is a scenario where like the lore is kind of messy and you just shouldn't worry about it. But with Sonic and Blaze's help, he restored the blue skies and peaceful days of his timeline, even though he can't remember how. So how does he remember Sonic and Blaze, and how does he meet with them? We don't really know. How does that happen if he doesn't remember anything? It's very interesting. These days, he travels to Sonic's time via a mysterious portal that appears when things in the past go awry. He's dedicated to doing whatever it takes to ensure the future remains peaceful and prosperous. So I feel like the Sonic franchise is very different about time travel. I mean, I guess the fact that Silver can just go back into the timeline freely means that, like, I guess, you know, past events maybe don't matter in the future. It's very messy, but Silver's existence in the franchise is, you know, he's a fan favorite character, so obviously he's going to return. But this is very interesting in the idea that it retcons Sonic 06 and no one remembers the events of it, but at least happened. Like, it's Sonic 06 is definitely canon because of this, but it's kind of messy to explain how exactly this happens. Let me know what you guys think about these bios. Any of these controversial? Do you guys have any opinions about this? I want to know what you guys think. These are the new updated bio for these characters. Some new lore stuff has been very interesting, so let me know what you guys think.